I'm your host, Jennifer Pilates. Welcome to another episode of Empowered Within. Hi there, and welcome to the show. I am so excited to have with us today Jennifer Spohr. It has been a minute that we've been trying to get together, and I know that you guys are just going to love her as much as I do. So let me tell you about her. Jennifer is the CEO and founder of her namesake company, and she is the host of Path of the Awakened Heart podcast. She's a spiritual advisor, channel, and Akashic Records trauma-informed master consultant and teacher of high-achieving conscious women who are here to live unapologetically, expressed in their truth, and fulfill their highest destiny in life, soul-led. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Thanks so much for the warm welcome, Jennifer.
I know two Jennifers together today. Let's see what kind of
Yes,
fun we can have. So
yes.
you've been on this wild and crazy spiritual journey that I've been reading about. Everything from trauma to abuse to homelessness, tragedy, spiritual awakening, dark night of the soul, career changes. And I'm wondering if you would take us back to how and when you feel that you really began on this amazing journey that you've been on.
Wow, yeah, as you were saying that just now, I was literally seeing like my whole life flash before my eyes, like a bunch of movie clips. So crazy. That's a big question. There are so many iterations of our journey, right? So many different seasons of evolution that we move through. Would you like me to start at the very beginning, or where I would say is probably the first big initial catalyzer to shifting how I'm living?
Absolutely. Truly, that moment that really pivoted you to where you
Yeah.
are now. Yes.
Yeah. So my whole life, I mean, I really has been pretty unconventional, right? And I have always been someone who regardless of what season I've been in my life, anything and everything that I've chosen to pursue, it has to be something that I believe in. So that's, always been important to me. I have always been really, really driven, and I had a really successful career, successful by traditional society standards, around having checked all those boxes off the list. I worked in the retail industry for a really long time, and for a long time I really loved it because, in retrospect, it turned out that there were lots of things about it that were and are in alignment with the essence of who I am, right? Like I loved helping people, I loved leading other people. I did love it for a long time. I reached a place where I essentially, I might have already mentioned, checked all those boxes off, right? And so what happened was I just reached this place or kind of hit like this unseen ceiling, right? Of, no longer feeling like I was making a difference anymore, feeling like I wasn't learning, anymore. And so that's really was the beginning of starting to wonder, like what's next? What could be next, when I honestly didn't believe that there was going to be anything that was next. I thought, oh, I'll retire at this company I'm working for. Toward the end of my career, I was an executive director of store operations for like 1,200 stores, I thought I was like set in my role. So I didn't take action right away to change careers, but that really started the process of essentially rediscovering myself, or I might actually even say discovering myself, because what I realized at that time in my life is that I didn't really know who I was anymore, because I realized that although I did love my career for a long time, I was always having to be on in that job. And when I was outside of work, I tend to focus my energies a lot on what my friends and family wanted to focus on, right? So this was also the beginning of, wow, like, who really is Jennifer? So I didn't change careers right away. What I did do right away is I started really kind of opening up to my spiritual gifts and opening up to myself. I started spending a lot of time in meditation, really adapting meditation as a practice. And that's probably been about 15 years ago now, and I can say I still meditate today, 7 days a week. It's like a non-negotiable for me. So I really just started getting to know myself more. And so then I really didn't take action to make a huge change until about a year and a half after that, because there was a lot of fear that I was experiencing at that time around, well, I've been at this job for so long, am I gonna make the same salary? Can I have the same lifestyle? Like, what are, all of those things around that fear of the unknown. Then my mom at the time was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And at the time I was living in New Jersey and she was in Idaho where I live now. And I was flying back and forth a lot, trying to balance my career with spending time with her and helping out with my family. And there was this defining moment that I remember so clearly as if it were yesterday. I was sitting by my mom's bedside, literally a few days before she transitioned. And there was this one moment where my work phone started pinging and ringing, and, because there was an issue happening. And then there was my mom. And in that moment, I found myself consciously faced again for probably the millionth time of, where do I get to choose to be present in my life? And in that particular moment, that was the end of that part of my life and the beginning of a new chapter, because I made a decision in that moment that I would never allow myself to feel like I was stuck, or that I didn't have the power to choose. Essentially, my courage exceeded my fear. And so that was the beginning of the end. What happened is it was a process, but I ended up stepping down voluntarily from my career, because at the time remote work culture wasn't a thing. I didn't even know that I didn't want that job anymore at that point. It's just how it unfolded. And so a lot like the lyrics of a country song, I often say this because it describes it so well. I literally rented out my house in New Jersey, packed up my car, and headed out west. I drove across the country by myself, which, by the way, I highly recommend. It's like so freaking liberating to do that. And in the summertime, it was so beautiful and gorgeous. And I moved back to Idaho to be closer to my remaining family, my close family at that time. And it was so crazy because, at the point that I moved, I didn't know that I was going to end up becoming an entrepreneur and dedicating that my life's work would be supporting other people in this way. It was some time after I had moved, probably a few months, that I realized I had all this support on my journey. So therapists, healers, coaches, I had readings done and all the things. But what I was hard pressed to be able to find at the time was to be able to invest in receiving support from someone who could relate to what I was experiencing, like this tremendous awakening and remembrance, really is what it was. And then also supporting me in integrating that in my body, right? Embodying that into my physical reality. And that was it. That was when I knew that I needed to become an entrepreneur, and I needed to help other women with this, and so that's what happened. I ended up actually eventually starting a business, and that's been, wow, like 6 or 7 years ago. I'm on my second podcast. I had another podcast before, Path of the Awakened Heart, and I've been through several different evolutions of my journey, which I feel like we all go through, because creating and an expansion, we're wired for that. That's who we are, as these amazing creator beings having this human experience. And so it honestly just, it never ceases to fascinate me, the journey, and it just keeps getting better and better.
Oh my gosh, that is quite the wild journey. And I love that because the world is truly a wild place in general for anyone. And then when you begin to embark on a spiritual journey, on a spiritual awakening, on a spiritual path, you know, What is your advice for how people can live confidently and unapologetically in their truth and follow their soul's guidance and has done as you have, which is pretty much sort of toggling away from the 3D world, from the constraints of the 3D world, and allowing themselves to spread their wings and feel confident to live their spiritual journey?
Yeah, I mean the first step, the number one step is mindfulness, is cultivating mindfulness for yourself. Meditation was something for me, like I said earlier, I think it's been about 15 years, and it's a lot like building a muscle at first, because a lot of people say they can't meditate, right? And it's not about that. Everybody can meditate and go within. It's a lot like working a muscle. So at first it was, I had to be disciplined. I had to have it in my calendar to be conscious about doing it 7 days a week, no matter what was going on in my life. I always created time to do it. And then over a time, and really not that long, only after the first few months, it started to bring me joy. It started to really land in my body as a part of who I am, and I love it. I look forward to it. That is the number one way to to release the resistance and constriction and all of the things that distract us in life, to be open to hear, to feel, in some cases see, and to know our soul's guidance. We creating that space is absolutely the core of our ability to live guided by our soul.
And what type of meditation do you practice when you practice?
Yeah, so I practice just mindful meditation. I make it a point to meditate in silence, to really tune into my breath, to how my body's feeling, being hyper focused on what my senses are all picking up on in the now moment. And I teach my clients to meditate in that way as well. And I still utilize guided meditation journeys sometimes, if I have a specific intention. But generally speaking, as a morning practice, it's always in silence to tune into all my senses and to my body.
That's a beautiful way to start your day. I love that. Let's tap into being an Akashic Records master consultant.
Yeah.
How does one become that, choose that, and what does it all mean?
Yeah. In my experience, the Akashic Records tend to find us, as do most things that are calling to us at a soul level. So the Akashic Records found me and opened a huge portal for me in terms of my ascension journey, which I know Reiki does that for a lot of people too. And I actually also trained in Reiki before the Akashic Records. It's a funny, interesting story because, well, first, just to say, for those who aren't as familiar with the Akashic Records, it, put in the most simple context, they're like a limitless cosmic library for your soul. So, we are so much more than even the human experience that we're having in this now moment, right? We are an eternal soul. We have all of these past, present, future lives that exist in different versions of us in different dimensions. It's truly so expansive and limitless. And so our records hold all of that information, all of the potential, all of the experiences, potential for healing, potential for clarity. Anything that we wish to tap into or experience, we can do so through accessing our Akashic Records. And the Akashic Records found me through a set of tarot cards. I love, today I channel a lot and I don't necessarily need tools in order to tap in, right? But I love tarot cards. I love oracle cards. They're so much fun. And I came across this set of Akashic Record tarot cards, and the energy of them immediately spoke to me, spoke to my being. And they were so detailed and intricate, and I just loved the visuals. And so I started using them frequently. And then I felt guided to go on YouTube because there are probably a million free meditations that you can do that will guide you to a journey to accessing your Akashic records, right? So I did one of those. And then when I did that, I was self-taught. I just started accessing my records on my own regularly. And then a mentor that I was working with at the time, she had an Akashic Records school and was offering this really intensive, like 9 month, I think it was like 9 or 10 month mastery program to go very deep in terms of more advanced like healing technologies and different ways that you can heal and navigate the records to be of service to yourself and to clients. So I decided to join that. And then it was through that program that I decided that I wanted to provide a way for others to receive teaching to learn how to access their own records. It's something that I've daydreamed about often, which is, imagine what our world would be like with the 8 billion of us here if we were all in touch with ourselves at that level, right? At that depth, the amount of love and peace and harmony that it would bring to humanity and the planet. So that's been my journey with the Akashic Records. I highly recommend to everyone.
So, if I were to sum it up for a layman, the Akashic Records, you could look into who I was in past lives, who
Mhm.
I am today, and then do you potentially look into different avenues and roads that I could be going down in the future?
Absolutely. Yes. And so I mentioned earlier that we're these amazing, powerful creator beings, right? And so our power to create, it all exists in this now moment. So our future, your future path here exists based on potential, and it exists and it's being shaped based on how you're choosing to show up now, right? And so in the records, you can actually do a future self progression, right? Which I've done with clients in the past where I've taken them on a journey to connect with their future self within a certain period of time, right? The client could be requesting a certain period of time, or you can just ask for whatever period of time and version of yourself to come forward that is for your highest good, if you want to go that route. And you're literally meeting that version of yourself, who she is, what she's doing, who she's being, how she's showing up, how does she spend her time, and a lot of people love doing those future self progressions when they have a specific vision that's on their heart to achieve. And so tapping into the version of yourself who has already manifested that, it's literally, it is collapsing space and time.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely incredible. And I love how real you just made that because for some people it would be too much, too out there, too woo,
Yeah.
if you will. But
Yeah.
what you're just saying, it's looking at your future self. Maybe you're going and meeting your inner child. Maybe you're reworking your present self. And I love the comfort that you just put in, just calling in your future self to
Yeah.
where you're looking to be, where you're looking to go. That
Yes.
sounds super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And, on a similar note, right, I've also done past life regressions, because sometimes when we are, self-sabotaging at a conscious or subconscious level, it can be due to something that needs to be healed from a past life. It can often be something that's beyond what you're currently aware of in your human mind, right? That you're experiencing in this reality. The energy, the essence of who we are is also embedded into our physical bodies in our DNA. So like a lot of times when we're doing healing work, the root cause of something ends up being just something that someone is unconsciously holding on to. That can be from a past life, it can be from an ancestral wound. It can be from an inner child. in this current life. That is a journey that I often take clients on too, is connecting with an aspect of their inner child in relation to whatever challenge they're experiencing. So it's actually like, yeah, I mean, you can look at it as, wow, like I'm mind blown in a good way, like this is a lot.
Yeah,
Or, but you can also frame it as just being so much fun because there's just so
absolutely.
much possibility to tap into.
Totally. And so when you're working with someone and they come to you for Akashic Records, the first step, is that something where you're like, okay, give me a few days, I'm going to pull up your records and then we'll go over them together. And is it actually that, or how do you go about it with clients?
Yeah, I don't actually prepare for readings. We tap in real time. So how it works,
Whoa, that's wild. I love it.
yeah. So there are a lot of people that work in the Akashic Records, and everyone has their own style. For me, when I'm in private session with a client, I will ground in, and then I'll do a little invocation to ask them for permission to open their Akashic Records. And often, because I'm a channel, when the Akashic Records they're open, I'll often just start automatically receiving information without any prompting from the client, and then I'll ask them if they want me to share that. And I also encourage clients to come prepared to the reading with any questions that they have, right? And the reason why I encourage that is because of the limitlessness, the sheer limitlessness of your records. In order for you to receive the most value, right,
Mhm.
from your time, you want to have an intention.
Absolutely. I think that's cool. I've not done it that way before, and that sounds incredibly intriguing to me. Like, how can you be nervous if you're just diving in? I remember the first time someone read, it actually came back like a book for me. And I was going through it by myself, and I was, there were some things in there that I was like, huh,
Mhm.
really? But then there was stuff that I felt like was missing. And when I inquired about it, they were like, oh, yeah, well, to that person, it wasn't as important. So I love that you're real time, real space with someone doing that. That's super incredible.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And to say that, the more willing you are to shift and change. And when I say change, I mean in an evolutionary way, right? The more open you are to that, the more open you are to just release attachment and resistance and ground in and be open to receive. Even one session can be life changing.
Oh, it sounds it. It sounds like a few minutes could be
Yeah.
absolutely shift someone's whole entire world. So I don't know about anyone else, but clearly we'll all be signing up after the end of the podcast.
It's pretty cool. It is really cool. I mean, it's been such a tremendous part of my journey, and I really love, you know, sharing that with other clients and supporting people just in continuing to tap into themselves at a deeper level. We just have so much power, divine power, power that comes from truth and love, and we're literally barely scratching the surface at a conscious level of that.
It's so true. I feel like I feel this expansive energy just being here with you as you talk about it, because
Yeah.
it just radiates from you. And I feel like I can, I just feel all these other energies and whatever we want to call them,
Yeah.
spirits floating around between us right now. It's like I feel like everyone's biting at the bits to have something to say also on our podcast with all of these
Yes.
energies flying around. I love that. It's
There's
so
just so much
spectacular.
expansion, and this conversation that we're having right now is so perfectly aligned for what's happening in the collective. I mean, I was having a conversation with another woman earlier today, really just saying that, it's like humanity is coming back online.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. Yes. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like humanity has been in this really weird retrograde where it's been like forward, backward, forward, backward. And I just said something like this earlier today. I'm like, I feel like we've turned a corner. I
Yes.
feel like this breath of fresh air, but at the same time, I feel like the choo-choo train has left the station and we all need to, like, in an exciting way, we need to get really clear, really fast, because I just feel like so many cool things are about to happen along this wild journey that we're on.
Yes, it's so true. It's funny. I use that phrase a lot too. The train has left the station because it
Mhm.
has, and there's
Oh yeah.
nothing stopping the train.
No, I
And the
feel it's
train,
right. It's like all aboard. Hold on tight
yes,
because we're going for this.
yes, we're going for it. We're already on the ride. It's like I had created this or shared this message recently about my experience in jumping out of a plane, and it's a lot like that. It's like once you jump, like that's it, it's happening. You can't like stop in midair and go back and go, I don't want to do this. I don't want to finish. That's the energy that we're in right now.
Absolutely. I saw that picture of you. I think I saw it on Instagram. And my heart, I was like, God bless her. God bless her. I don't think I could do it. I would like to do it, but boy, that's a lot of energy and fear and insecurities to get past
There's
to
a
do
lot
that.
of letting go in that
Mhm.
experience. I mean, I learned so much from that.
Yeah. Oh, wow. How incredible. Well, speaking of experience, what is when you think about, since you've been on your spiritual journey, what's one impactful piece of wisdom that you've gained along your journey that you'd like to share?
Wow. I'm like, just pick one.
Or you can have a few.
I want to share something that is grounded and really actionable for whoever is listening. So, releasing resistance. We talk about, when I say we, I say the personal development industry, spiritual communities, talk so much about surrendering on the path that it's almost become kind of like a buzzword and a cliche,
Mhm.
unfortunately, because it really is such a core component of the journey. And when I talk about resistance, I mean anything and everything that promotes separation consciousness, right? So, any feelings of not feeling worthy or deserving or unhealed trauma or not believing in yourself that you can achieve something, judgment, lack of forgiveness, any scarcity way of being, all of that falls under resistance. And a lot of people even categorize resistance and look at it through the lens of focusing on a specific goal or intention of something that they want to create. What I am talking about is releasing resistance through all of your body systems, through all of your being, and really embarking on that journey to learn how to live in flow.
I love that. It's so important to release at a cellular level. And I always work with people and say sometimes it's not about zoning in on one particular issue or trauma, it's just letting go. Getting to that root cause and just releasing. I would say it's
Yes.
not about 15 years of therapy as much as it is about getting to that cellular level root cause and releasing at that point.
Yes, and it can happen quite quickly. Earlier in
Mhm.
our conversation, we talked about in the records how you can collapse space and time, and you can experience healing work in your records that will change your life. And even as little as one session, it really goes back to also what we were speaking of earlier, which is that your willingness, your own willingness, right? Because this would be another piece of wisdom I would love to bring to everyone's awareness too, is that as a human, you have this amazing gift of free will. Everything unfolds in accordance with your free will, right? So you can use that free will to live and flow, or you can use that free will or misuse that free will to stay in resistance, right? So you always, no matter what your external circumstances are, you always have the power to choose. You cannot control everything, but you always have the power to choose how you respond.
I love that. And touching on something that you were talking about when you're working with someone and working and opening up those Akashic records, which like I just like envision this big gold book that's dusty, that's opening, and the dust is flowing and all of that. Is it like how you and I are right now? That you're like, okay, we're going in a session, take an inhale, take an exhale, and boom, here we go. What are your questions?
Yeah,
Or is it that? Okay.
it
I was
is. Yeah,
wondering.
I connect with clients via video. on Zoom. And yes, for a reading at the very beginning, we will ground in, and then I will do a little invocation and ask the client for their name, to say their name, and ask them for permission to open their records. And then at the end of our session, I close their records as well to indicate that we're finished. I specify in a reading because I do also provide longer term mentorship, working with other women as well. And within that, there are sessions where we do work in the records. There are also other things that I support women on as well, with strategy and various other things that they have in mind too.
So cool. I think that's important because, again, there's something very special about the way that you're talking about the records. And I've talked about the records with tons of people and seen it different ways. And there's just something very grounding and very safe feeling about the way that you're talking about it. And so I feel that I must be picking up on people's energies that like would be a little scared or a little insecure, not knowing what to
Yeah.
expect. So I appreciate you going into that and sharing that, because I think that that brings someone one step closer to being open and willing to explore who they are, to release whatever it is, and to bring in whatever needs to come in. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is really important to feel safe. I am personally very honored with anyone, even if I have one session with someone, whoever I'm working with, that they're putting their trust in me and that they feel safe to be in that space. And I encourage everyone listening, you can go right and look up one of those free meditations and access your records yourself. There is value in working with someone who can help you to put more structures to working in your records, and also teach you more advanced healing technologies and future life stuff, or anything else, right, as a way to more efficiently navigate your records and that journey.
Mhm.
The only thing I will say, to everyone is, if you do go explore the records on your own, that's great. Just make sure that you set an intention, even if it doesn't indicate it in whatever meditation you choose. Set an intention to only be connected in your records with the highest frequency light.
See, that would be the one concern as to why I wouldn't do it on YouTube, because I wouldn't necessarily, I feel you don't always know what other energy could be there or what else is fully, you just don't know sometimes.
Yeah, I normally don't do this. I'm feeling guided though to share this. Absolutely true what you're saying. I don't specialize in, I have some meditations on YouTube, but I don't provide, DIY learning your records meditations on YouTube.
Right?
But what I will say is, I will recommend, the name of the company is Unlock Your Life. And the woman she specializes in hypnotherapy. And I believe she does have a journey on her channel of around accessing the records. And she may even have one about finding your soul purpose and accessing the records too. I have personally listened to some of her meditations because she has all kinds of different guided meditations and different journeys. Her energy is definitely of high frequency and pure.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Well, and we can
Yeah.
also, all of your contact information and your YouTube, and you have lots of freebies, meditations, and things on your website. All those links will be over in the show notes so that people can connect with you, because everyone's going to want to love and go through your energy first because it's so amazing. And it's so refreshing and grounding to speak with a spiritual person who is so solid in their foundation and just matter of fact, and not, sometimes people are just a little too floaty. You know what I mean? They're really good, but they can just be a little too floaty, is I guess the only word I can describe it.
I completely understand with what you're saying. And I would say there was a season in my life where I was a little floaty too. Yeah, I mean, to me, and thank you, by the way, for that compliment. I really appreciate that. That's the name of the game, we're a soul, we're here on earth in this human body. And it's so amazing that we are such powerful creators and we get to decide, like, what do we want to do with this body? It can be like a
Right.
playground, you know, like,
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. And I was thinking it could just be the Taurus in me, right? I like to stay very grounded, but I like to tether myself off into the spiritual world. But then like I'm like, nope, I gotta feel my feet on the ground. I gotta have that solidness.
well,
And
there
so
is a benefit for anyone listening, right? To be grounded. And it's interesting we're talking about this because I am moving through another evolution as we speak right now in my life's work and my journey as well. And I am going to be speaking more often specifically about grounding and how to become more solid and fully present in your human body, but with your awareness at a soul
Mhm.
level.
I think that's so spectacular, especially I know I realized that for a lot of my life, I didn't live present in my body. And
Yeah,
so I work at that wholeheartedly almost every day I work at that. Whereas now it's much easier and it's also much clearer if I'm trying to jump out. And then that's when I'm like, no, stay here. Why are you trying to jump out kind of thing? And maybe that will resonate with some people too. And anyone that's had any sort of trauma or such dynamics in their early ages of life, they know what I'm speaking of how you want to learn and honor and be in your body to, as you say, that empowers yourself and to feel how incredibly powerful you are. And then you get so addicted to being in your body that you don't want to jump out anymore.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah, definitely. I have also experienced trauma. You do not want, as a protection mechanism, we leave our bodies, right? And
Right.
so, yes, it's a journey to learn how to be grounded and to feel safe being with yourself, to feel safe being in your body, and then to get to a place where you're actually enjoying being in your body.
I know it is so important. Oh, well, Jennifer, this has been so amazing. You have opened my eyes to looking at the Akashic Records in a whole nother way. And I couldn't thank you more for that. And I know that our community is going to appreciate that. It's something we haven't spoken of yet here on the podcast. So I'm honored that you are our gateway to our Akashic Records. As we are closing out the show today, what is one last piece of inspiration or advice that you would like to leave with us?
Yes. What's coming forward right now, we are living in uncharted territory. We're living in unprecedented times. And doing the trust fall, you know, with God, with your soul's guidance and living led from that space is no longer a nice to have. It is absolutely a pillar of living a life where you're experiencing health and joy and abundance and prosperity and all of the things. And so know that whatever direction you're being called to in your life, anything big or small, to trust that and to trust that even you, as one of 8 billion humans living here right now, whatever you're being faced with and guided to, that when you choose that soul led path, then you are contributing to humanity as a collective coming back online. So, absolutely imperative. And know that, give yourself permission to just go for it.
Love that. Yes, everyone want everyone to go for it because these are unprecedented times and we should embrace the excitement and embrace the sense of community and release the division of what was to bring in the community that we've all been craving for so long. And it's such a beautiful feeling. And thank you for that, Jennifer. That was amazing.
Yes, thank you. What an honor to finally get to connect with you and to have this conversation. It was really, really wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And if you wouldn't mind, where is the best place that you would like all of our community to come and work with you?
Yeah, the best place to connect with me would be through my website. It's jenniferspohr.com, JenniferSpohr, easy peasy for those who don't have the show notes in front of them. I also hang out a lot on Instagram, so you can connect with me there, and that's Jennifer_Spohr.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And again, all of Jennifer's information will be over in the show notes, so you can click and begin working with her today. Well, Jennifer, thank you again for this eye-opening, spiritually vibrational, high energy that you've brought into the podcast today. This has been so much fun. I'm so honored that we finally got to connect.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, as we say, until next time, may you live an empowered life from within. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Empowered Within with Jennifer Pilates. Your feedback is important. It helps me to connect with you and gives me insight into who you are and what you're enjoying about the show. For today's show notes and discount codes from today's sponsors, head over to jenniferpilates.com. Until next time, may you live an empowered life from within.